I'm Josh Newkirk for Fox Sports Next and GoBlueWolverine.com, and I'm here with Sam Webb down here at the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. And today, Sam, we got to see some Michigan guys in action. But before we get to those guys, let's talk about the main guy that everybody wants to hear about, Mr. Derek Green out of Hermitage, Virginia.
Yeah, he is a beast. I don't think there's any question that when you look at guys in a setting like this, you try to see if they live up to the hype. And all week long, today was no exception. He lived up to the hype. I think people knew that he was a guy that had great power, that he was, a big guy that you didn't want to square up and try to tackle high. But I think what he showed this week is he's a guy that has great feet, exceptional vision. He can find holes where they are and not necessarily where they're supposed to be. You got a lot of guys that, run, hey, the hole is supposed to be here, coach. Well, it's not there. What are you going to do? Derek Green is a guy that can find that hole. He can find that daylight. And that's something that is not necessarily it's a rare trait. I mean, great vision is not something that you find in every back, and I think we've seen that. This guy is the exception to the rule, and now the question is, will Michigan be able to hold on to the lead that they obviously have? He seems intent upon taking the final 2 visits, but he also is very enamored with Michigan, not just because of the opportunity for playing time and the tradition of the program, but his connection with the coaches, especially Fred Jackson. He raves about his connection with him. He calls it a father-son relationship, and I think that's one of the things that really has made his mom comfortable with Michigan as well.
Well, let's switch it up to another guy that's a 5-star, DeMonte Thomas out of Alliance, Ohio. DeMonte came out here. He played safety for the first time. He played linebacker in high school, so he's sort of getting used to a new position. So how do you feel that he, transformed into his new position today?
I think he came up and made some nice tackles, but I think you saw DeMonte Thomas in a role that he's not going to play at Michigan. I think you are, by playing him, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, you're muting some of what really makes him effective. He is a fierce tackler. He's a guy that'll stick his nose in there. I think you'll see him playing in the box a lot more at Michigan, lining up in that nickel position. I think you'll see, with a guy like DeMonte Thomas in the fold, you can see them in the nickel a lot more because he can cover, he can come up and hit, he can blitz. So I think you'll see him be much more in the fray in the role that he'll play at Michigan than you saw him be today. But still, he had a good week. He had a good day. Certainly, when it came time for him to be the last line of defense, he stepped up and made the tackle.
And another Michigan guy that played on the West team this week, ironically, I know he's from Detroit Cast Tech's own Jordan Lewis. Talk about JD. Obviously, he did some things earlier in the week. How do you feel he played today?
He didn't get tested as much as he will. I think that guy, I've seen enough of him to know that he can help Michigan from day one. You can take Jordan Lewis the moment he gets on campus, provided that he comes in a proper shape and he learns the defense. But you can say, hey, JD, go cover the slot. And he'll be able to do that. He can cover like a blanket. He has exceptional fluidity. He can flip and turn. He can flip his hips and turn and run with anyone, especially the smaller, quick guys that you see. A lot of the spread offenses that you see in the slot in almost every offense. So I think he can help Michigan in that way right away. Now, for him to be an every down player, going to have to get bigger, going to have to get stronger. Certainly going to have to be more of a tackler, which is something that you saw him improve upon in his senior year.
Now, let's just touch real quick on there was a couple other Michigan guys, Chris Fox and Jake Butt. They didn't play today due to injuries, but just give a quick synopsis about them right now.
Well, I think Chris Fox is a guy that seems to be right in line with this theme that I've been talking about. If you heard me down at the Under Armour practices, I talked about this theme of nastiness, the nasty boys that they're putting together up front. That might be what they're called down the line, the nasty boys, because every guy plays with the kind of disposition that you want to see in a tough, powerful,
they just want to hurt people,
will-imposing offensive line, and they aren't nice about it. That's
right.
The thing that you hear from all these guys. You look. Nobody on the football field is out there trying to pity pat, right? But these guys, they don't just want to bury you. They want to bury you and step on you when they're walking over you. And not to say that you're looking for personal fouls, but you're looking for that kind of mentality. You're looking to beat them down, beat them into the ground, make them quit. That's the kind of offense that Michigan wants, and those are the kind of linemen that they are putting together. And Chris Fox is that kind of guy. Didn't he tell you, I'm the meanest guy you'll ever see?
As soon as he crosses that line, he says he's the meanest guy you'll ever meet.
And so what did Patrick Kugler say when I talked to him? I just want to be mean all the time. I want to be mean every time I'm on the field. David Dawson, does he ever hear the whistle?
I don't think that kid knows how to smile.
There you go. So it's not a mistake that all of these guys are talking about the way they play the game with the same terms, the same phrases, the same words. It's because they all approach the game in the same way, and I think it bodes well for Michigan down the line.
No, let's touch on Jake Butt. I know Michigan had a successful freshman this year in Devin Funchess. Jake Butt, I've interviewed him in the past. He says he wants to be like Gronkowski. I don't know if he can be up to that level. That's high praise for any player, but you got to respect his ambitions. What kind of player is Michigan going to get in Jake Butt?
I mean, Jake Butt, look, I think when we get into talking about comparisons, people think that you're saying they're going to be that guy. He's not saying that, and you aren't saying. He's just saying that he can bring that kind of pass-catching element to an offense, and I don't think that's false. We saw him out at the opening, but for O.J. Howard, he's just an unbelievable tight end prospect running a 4.5 40. Jake Butt was right up there, but for that guy. I mean, he's a guy that is going to be a mismatch problem for linebackers that try to cover him. He's gonna be too fast or too quick for a lot of them. For safeties that try to cover him, he'll be able to outmuscle and jump over guys like that. So he's a guy I don't know about as a freshman. Maybe because of the lack of depth at the position, he'll be pressed into action. But he's a guy that could potentially help them early. I think if they had their druthers, then maybe they'd like to hold it back to keep some spacing between the classes. But he certainly, I think, physically will be ready, and talent-wise, he'll be able to help, I think, immediately when he gets on campus, provided he comes in. Again, like we said with JD, you always want to give the qualifiers and the caveats. They have to come in shape. They have to be able to learn the playbook. They have to have the balance between academics and athletics. All those things are in place. He's a guy that can help Michigan right away, too.
Well, that will wrap it up here from U.S. Army All-American Bowl Week. For Sam Webb, I'm Josh Newkirk for Fox Sports Next.